Okay, so this next video is the starting point. You get some data, as you can see here. What do? How do you actually put this into a graph? Well, like I said before with our checklist, we want to make sure that you have a ruler, you have a sharp pencil, you have a sharpener, we make mistakes, you have a rubber, and you'll actually need a calculator as well to actually do this. You're going to use a ruler, and you're going to make your axes. Okay, so you might have graph paper that look like this. Okay, so you're going to make your axes with a ruler. Sometimes it's you'll have some room on the edge. Sometimes you won't. So sometimes it's just good to just find a starting point. You want to be going on those dark lines, and you want to leave a little bit of space so that you can actually label underneath. There we go. This is our starting point. And you want to make your notches. Okay, so in this case, every 5 little squares you have one. So make it all the way up. And while you're doing it, you should count how many you have. There's around 19 going up. Actually, I've written it up here. There's 25 notches. And along the bottom, I've written here there's 19. I need that information for later when making a scale. And I need to label. So my next step is to label. Okay, just remembering the first column in your table ends up being your x-axis, and the second column in your table, or last column in your table, end up in your y-axis. Don't forget the units, okay? That's all you need to do. So we're going to do some plotting as well. We're going to go through. So let's actually use and work out the scale now. Some data that I have worked on earlier. So here's a Year 7 question. Okay, this is actually a classic experiment where we take different masses, and they will have different forces, which you can see here, called weight. And we're going to look to see how far a spring gets pulled as a consequence. We're going to be measuring, okay, the extension of the spring. So it's called Hooke's law. All right. So listen, we've got data. We got numbers on the x-axis, and there is actually an infinite, it makes sense to have a force between 2 and 3. You could have a force of 2.3, 2.4, 2.5. So we are going to be choosing to do a line graph in this case. And like I said, the first step is to get your graph paper and kind of, want to work out how many the little squares are worth. And you're going to make your notches. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I only have 7 there, so I'm going to write a little 7 to remind myself. Bring this out so you can see it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A little 7 there. Okay. So like I said, you need your calculator to work out the scale. We want them to go up evenly. So I'm going to look at your largest number. This is the x-axis, 7. Okay. And remember, we have 7 squares there. I'm just going to label it as well. Force. I am going to write the units in brackets. Okay, definitely need to know that, but I need to know what it goes up by. So I need a calculator. Here's my calculator. Okay, and it's very simple. You take the largest number, in this case 7, you divide it by how many notches there is on your graph, and you're going to round up if you don't get a whole number. This one's 1, so it's quite easy. So you'll round up to a 1, a 2, or a 5. This is 1 exactly. So if I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got that. I don't need this information anymore. But I need another piece of information as well. This is going to help me to plot later on. So I need to know how much each little square is worth. I have 5 little squares. 5 little squares. This brings the size so you can see it. And it's a difference of 1 between the 0, which you always have in the corner, and the next number. So 1 divided by 5 is, press the SD button if you have a scientific calculator, 0.2. And I'm just going to write that down. It's going to help me plotting, and it's going to help me later on. Okay, let's go to the y-axis. What's the largest number? Okay, you can see it's 12.5. How many notches do I have? 7. Let's do the same thing. A little bit more challenging this time, as you'll see. 12.5, largest number, divided by 7. And now we get a very odd thing, 1.78. I can go up by 1.7857142, but that's not easy. So I'm going to round up. I'm going to round up to a number that is either a 1, a 2, or a 5. So the next number that we have that's greater than this, that's one of those, is actually 2. So let's go up by 2s and see what we can do. This way, we're going to be using over 75% of our actual paper. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Just erase the 7 because I don't need it anymore. Okay, now I need to, again, do the same thing I did below. I need to know what each one is worth. Okay, so in this case, I have a difference of 2. 2 divided by, again, there's 5 little squares, 5. So each one is worth 0.4. 0.4. Okay, so now the fun, which is, well, actually, I need to label my y-axis. That would be silly if I didn't. Length of spring, centimeters. Doesn't make sense for a spring to be coming out in meters, just based on the numbers there. Could be millimeters, actually. Could be millimeters. Depends on, it really depends on actual the data that we see there. Okay, but usually when we do this Hooke's law thing, it's usually centimeters. Okay, so I need to plot. What we're going to do is we only care about it row by row. Okay, so you can kind of ignore everything else. So we're going to go along the corridor and up the stairs when we're actually plotting, and we're going to put an X when we see it. So along the corridor, which is x-axis, so along 2 and up to 5. Use a ruler to help you. So we're going to go along 2, use a ruler, and we're going to go up 5. Well, I don't have 5 here. What am I going to do? Okay, well, I know it goes up by 0.4, okay? So pick what we do have. Okay, we do have 4. It's going to erase this little notch because it's actually not in the right place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Has to be really, really precise too. Remember, I said half a square. That's what we're looking for. So that's 4. 4.4. Okay, and then half a square is 4.5. I'm going to put an X there. Okay, that's how precise we're looking for. And that's why it's important to have this below. The next one, along 3, up 6.5. Okay, so along 3. So quite easy on the x-axis, as you can see. And 6.5. So 6.5, remember, it's going up by 4s. So 0.5 is an 1/8. So it's barely above the line. So just put an X there. Okay, and the next one, you can continue along. Might want to speed this up or fast forward if you want to. 4 and 8. This one's going to be much easier. There we go, 4 and 8. And that next one is going to be 5 and 9.5, just so you can see it. 5 and 9.5. So along the corridor and up. So 9.5, so we've got 8.4, 8.8, 9.2, and slightly above 9.2. It's going up by 4s. Okay, and then I've got 6 and 11. So 10.4, 10.8, 11.2. So 11.2, so we really want halfway there. Okay, there we go. You're going to notice something about the line now. Okay, so we're going to visually have to inspect the line afterwards to make a decision of line of best fit. Last one's going to be 7 and 12.5. So along the corridor, 7 and up to 12.5. So 12.5, like we said before, it's going to be barely above because it's going up by 4s otherwise. Now, do I need to keep these? I don't. Do I need to actually erase them? It might look nicer if I do, but we did need it for that plotting. And if any other times you need to the in-between values we need to interpolate. Okay, I'm going to zoom out now. We have to decide on a line of best fit. Is it straight? Or is it straight, and is the line of best fit going to be a line, and should I go through the zero? So we have to make some decisions now. I know from my science background that Hooke's law, there's what's called a proportional relationship between mass or force and length of the spring. Even if you didn't know that, you can see I can't actually, what we're looking for, line of best fit, I need to go through as many points as possible. And if I can't do that, I need an equal number of points above and below the line. Okay, so doing a smooth curve, there's no need for it here. I can use a ruler here. I have to decide as well, do I go through the zero? Does it make sense if there is no mass, in this case, look at the picture again, does it make sense if there is no mass that there be no extension? In this case, yeah. If there's no mass, the spring is not going to extend at all. So 0, 0, you can actually go through the origin, but you don't always have to. It's not a necessary thing to go through the 0, 0. Okay, so I could actually put a little 0, 0 there. It's called directly proportional when you can do that. I could. I haven't plotted it, but it makes sense. So I probably should erase the x, because that kind of shows us falsely that we've gone through the 0, 0. But we can put the ruler there. Now I'm going to take the ruler, I'm going to lift you up here. I'm going to put the ruler on its end through the 0, 0. I'm looking at it from the top. I'm moving the ruler around, and I'm looking to see, can I get the ruler into a place where I'm going through as many points as possible, and there's an equal number of points above and below the point lines. Okay, put the ruler down. You feel confident. Draw your line. Okay, and what have I done? They're really close to the line. There's like maybe 3 above and there's 3 below, but it's the best fit in this case, and you really are getting really close to going through 0, 0 here. Is that the only line of best fit you can do in this case? There is a perfect one, but again, you're moving the ruler around. When it's a curve line of best fit, you may want to kind of use your hands to do it. I'm going to show you that in a sec. This is actually, it's half decent graph now. Okay, hopefully following all our checklists. I've used a straight line. Just erase that there. Notice there's no arrows on the x and y axes. Okay, so hopefully we have that. By the way, these videos can be split. Okay, but right now we're just looking at plotting a line graph. Okay, so have a look at some issues with scale here. All right, so I have another example here. So again, x, the first column is going to be on the x-axis, and the second column is going to be the y-axis. But in terms of looking at this, I've got 10 little squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've only got 5 notches, 10 little squares between them, just to get an idea of where it is. You just pick your largest number on the y-axis. The largest number is 88. Calculator, 88 over 5. Okay, 17.6. I'm going to go up by the next value. That's a 1, a 2, or a 5. So the next value is a 1, 2, or a 5 is 20. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Okay, so hopefully you can apply that. And what I've done is, 88 is the highest number. I've done that. Remember, you also want to put a little, so there's 0, a little line there, just to remember what it's going up by. So it's 10 little squares. There's a difference of 20 divided by 10 is 2. Just reminding yourself when you're plotting what each square is worth. Okay, that's what you do there. And the last little thing is to show you what happens when you have problems. So when you have problems is when the data like all of a sudden just jumps up, to 180, for instance, here to 110. It doesn't make sense to start at 0. So when I said the zigzags, that's what I mean. It looks like the line's been squashed. So that's kind of how you draw the line. Do a little zigzag, and then you can start. You don't have to start at 0 in that case. Okay, and that way you're using most of your paper. Otherwise, it will be all crunched up like this on the top. It's the same data if you didn't do the squishing. And you're not, are you using more than 50% of the paper? No, because all your data is in one spot. Okay, so there is a way around the rules, and that is our little zigzag line, which is great to know. Here is an example of a line. Obviously, we've got here the units are in the corner. They've got a volume of jar, centimeter cubed, time the candle goes out. I mean, I can take this. I have no idea what this is about, but in my head, I can okay, I can figure out a practical based on this. They've taken a candle, they've changed the size of a jar, and they're looking to see how long it takes for the candles to go out because it's running out of oxygen. Okay, so you can just pick up a graph or a table and know what the practical is all about based on that. You should, if there's enough information. So that you cannot get, I just want to show you this, you cannot get, even if you wanted to, a straight line. No matter what you do, there's always going to be more points above than below. No matter what you do, it's not going to be good. You're not going to be able to go through many points and have the same number above and below. That's why it's good to take your ruler and put it upright like this. You're in this case, it is a smooth curve. And the best way to do a smooth curve is to run your pencil along in the air. It's got to be a smooth motion, which is why I'm doing this. And then once you're going over the points over and over and over again, at some point, you give it a go. So you see that's a smooth curve there. Okay, I'm going through 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it the best? It's not. It's why you've got a rubber. Do it a few times. Make mistakes. Learning's about making mistakes as well. Is that the best? No. Do it again. Okay, you get the idea. Okay, it should look similar to that. Hope you found this helpful. See you again soon.